I have been working on an idea for a couple of years now, and so I thought I would just share it and see what people think. So in this video, I'm going to talk about my design for a new financial derivative. This is going to be a more advanced video. So if you need a basic introduction to financial derivatives, I've actually made a bunch of videos that cover the basics. So even if you just need a refresher on the topic, you can check out those videos on my website or my YouTube channel, and so I'll put the links to those videos in the description box down below. So I designed this new financial derivative. And financial derivatives typically exist for a specific business purpose. So I think that's a good place to start, is to talk about what is the business problem we are trying to solve. The issue we're going to focus on deals with the commercial space industry. And the commercial space industry is made up of companies that enable us to work, travel, and play in outer space. Now there's an interesting dilemma facing rocket launch companies, and it has to do with space insurance. If you were going to launch a rocket into space and you wanted to insure that rocket, your insurance costs would be very expensive. Launching rockets is a fairly risky business. Historically, failure during a rocket launch falls right around 20%. Now, personally, I think that number is going to decrease dramatically over the next several years. But historically, failure rates are right around 20%. But that is not the main reason why insurance costs are so expensive. The real problem faced by insurance companies is that the business model of a rocket launch provider contradicts the business model of a traditional insurance company in a very fundamental way. The way insurance companies work is they spread risk out over long periods of time. So if you were going to insure a building that was going to be around 40 years, the insurance company would spread out that risk over that 40-year period. And health insurance works the same way, car insurance works the same way. That is the reason why insurance is so affordable. Because even if the potential risk could be very expensive, you can spread the cost of your insurance payments out over long periods of time and multiple customers. What is different about a rocket launch company is that a rocket launch happens in a matter of minutes. So you will know within minutes whether your launch was successful or not. Well, this is a problem for insurance companies because you don't have any time you can spread those risk payments out. So if a rocket launch company wanted to insure their rocket, they would need to make all those risk payments up front, which would result in very high insurance costs. So if you look at the space industry today, you actually see this playing out. Insurance companies are having a hard time collecting enough market premiums to cover their insured value. And when you ask the insurance companies what's going on, they'll say that there's not enough market demand to pay high enough prices to cover their risk. And that is what you see when you look at the rocket launch companies. So only about 50% of rocket launches are insured. And so a lot of these companies are looking at these high prices and deciding it's better to either not insure or self-insure for their rocket launch. The reason why I'm spending so much time talking about this is that insurance is very important for a well-functioning economy. Just imagine what would happen if 50% of people didn't have car insurance. Every time you got in an accident, you would have very real concerns about how you would financially manage that situation. Well, in the space industry, launch failures are going to happen. And so insurance is really important to make sure that the industry keeps going. So if a launch failure ever does occur, it should be a simple matter of the insurance company sending the money to the rocket scientists so that they can get started building that next rocket. So insurance is really important. What if I told you I have a way to dramatically lower insurance costs for the space industry at no upfront cost for the rocket ship companies and at very little risk? My recommendation to solve this business problem is to come up with a new financial derivative. And I call this financial derivative a rocket swap. Ultimately, what we're talking about here is managing risk. And financial derivatives are really good at moving risk into capital markets to people who are willing to hold that risk. The reason why I call it a rocket swap is because it's very similar to a financial derivative called a credit default swap. Now, credit default swaps were created by J.P. Morgan in 1994, and today is a market worth trillions of dollars. A credit default swap is an agreement that you will get a payout in the event of a loan default. Every time you have a loan, one of two things are going to happen. Either the loan is going to get paid off or the loan will default. There is a binary situation, and based on the outcome, the credit default swap will kick in. Well, a rocket launch is also a binary situation. Either the launch will be successful or it will be a failure, and you will know within a matter of minutes. So a rocket swap is a financial derivative that removes risk from the rocket ship company into capital markets where they're willing to hold that risk for a reasonable return. Now, I have run a number of simulations of how this would play out, and the results are impressive. Here is a short list. The cost of insurance drops dramatically. Rocket launch companies have no upfront costs, and banks never lose because they can take these financial derivatives and split them up into multiple tranches, and the AAA tranche would always receive a guaranteed payback. It's a little bit more complicated than this. I mean, I'm simplifying this down. But this is a true win-win situation because you are moving this risk in a way where everyone benefits. The rocket launch company benefits, the investment bank benefits, everybody is better off. The reason why all of this works is the unique quality of rocket launch companies. Because you know the outcome in a matter of minutes. So the very thing that makes this problematic for traditional insurance companies is what makes it attractive for financial derivatives. So if you are purchasing an investment for only a couple of minutes, you can afford to take a very small return. Because even if you're only getting pennies on the dollar, if you can turn around and make that investment again and again in successive rocket launches, that small return adds up to a lot of money, even at 20% risk. And that is how the cost to insure these rocket launch companies can drop so dramatically. There is a potential situation that could be problematic, and that's called a black swan event. This would be a situation where the risk profile changes. So for instance, if launch failures suddenly were to increase from 20% to 50%, that would be problematic. But statistically, that is so unlikely that it's almost not even worth mentioning. The reason why I'm convinced about the benefit of rocket swaps has to do with the history of finance. The very first financial derivatives were created for farmers. And so farmers would buy these financial derivatives, called futures and forwards, to protect against the risk of changes in crop prices. So in the same way that farmers used financial derivatives to remove the risk from farming, rocket ship companies can do the same thing with financial derivatives removing the risk from launching rockets. So I'm not trying to sell anything here. Rocket swaps don't exist. This is all theoretical. All I'm trying to do is point out a huge opportunity in the marketplace. What's really at stake here is that this provides a new way for money from capital markets to flow into the commercial space industry. And what this would do is it would fuel a whole new expansion of technological advancement. So that's my idea. I just wanted to put it out there and see what you thought. So go ahead and leave your comment down below. Let me know if you think rocket swaps are a good idea. And if you found this video helpful, click on that subscribe button. The best way to supercharge a business is through accounting and corporate finance, and I release a new video every week. So come back and check out next week's video.